I was never the popular kid in school. In fact, if there was a ranking of who had it the worst, I'd probably be number one. From the very first day of freshman year, I was branded as the loser. What? I wasn't athletic. I didn't wear expensive clothes. I wasn't loud or funny like the others. I was just me. Quiet. Sad. A little awkward. And in high school, being yourself is often the worst crime you can commit. The cafeteria was my battlefield. Everyone sat in their groups. The athletes in one corner, the cheerleaders in another, the band kids together, the nerds at their own table. And then, there was me. Alone. I'd sit at the end of a table with my lunch tray, pretending to scroll through my phone, hoping no one would notice me. But they always did. "Hey, look, it's the charity case," one of the football players would yell. Another would knock my food tray over and laugh as I scrambled to pick it up. The cheerleaders would whisper and giggle whenever I walked by. I learned quickly that invisibility wasn't an option. They wanted me to suffer. There were 3 people who made my life especially miserable. Ryan, the star quarterback. Everyone loved him, teachers, students, parents. But to me he was a nightmare. He lived to humiliate me, tripping me in the hallway or spreading rumors about me. Jessica, one of the most popular girls. She had once been kind to me in middle school, but by high school she laughed the loudest whenever I was targeted. Derek, my former best friend. We grew up together, but the second he realized that being friends with me made him a target too, he turned on me. Sometimes his betrayal hurt worse than the bullying itself. One memory still burns in my mind. It was sophomore year, right before the homecoming dance. I didn't have a date, obviously, but I was still going. I thought maybe if I just showed up, dressed well, I could at least blend in. When I walked into the gym, the music blasting, the lights flashing, I felt hopeful. Maybe tonight would be different. But then Ryan spotted me. "Hey, loser showed up," he shouted. Before I could react, he grabbed a cup of fruit punch and poured it all over my white shirt. The crowd roared with laughter. Jessica pulled out her phone and recorded it. Derek shook his head and muttered, "Man, you should have just stayed home." I left the dance humiliated, sticky, and broken. That night, I locked myself in my room and cried harder than I ever had before. But in the middle of that pain, something inside me snapped. I looked in the mirror, my shirt still stained red, my eyes swollen. And I whispered to myself, one day they're going to regret this. One day they'll look at me and wish they treated me differently. It wasn't just a dream. It was a promise. From then on, I started planning my escape. I knew college was out of reach. My family didn't have money, and even if we did, my grades were average at best. But I was good with computers. Ever since I was a kid, I loved tinkering with old machines, building small websites, and figuring out how things worked. At night, while the others were out at parties, I was on my old laptop, teaching myself coding through free tutorials. JavaScript, HTML, Python, I soaked it all in. At first, it was just a distraction, a way to escape the misery of school. But slowly it became my weapon. By senior year, while Ryan was winning football games and Jessica was winning homecoming queen, I was building websites for local businesses. It wasn't much, $50 here, $100 there, but it was mine. Every dollar I earned was proof that I didn't need them. Graduation day came, and I couldn't have been happier to leave that place behind. As they cheered for Ryan giving his speech as most likely to succeed, I sat quietly in the back, clenching my diploma like it was my ticket to freedom. They thought my story ended there. They thought I would fade away, stuck in some dead-end job, still the loser they remembered. But they were wrong. Because that night, as the fireworks lit up the sky at the graduation party I wasn't invited to, I sat alone in my room, typing code into my laptop. And I whispered my promise again. One day, you'll all see. Leaving high school felt like stepping out of prison. For the first time in years I could breathe. No Ryan. No Jessica. No Derek. No constant humiliation. But freedom didn't mean success. Not yet. After graduation, most of my classmates either went off to college or started working decent jobs through family connections. I had neither option. My parents worked long hours just to keep food on the table. Paying for college was impossible, and honestly, I wasn't sure I wanted to spend 4 more years sitting in classrooms surrounded by people who looked down on me. So I chose a different path. I got a job stocking shelves at a local grocery store during the day, and at night I kept teaching myself programming. My laptop was old and slow, the fan rattled like it was about to die, but it was all I had. Those first few years were brutal. I'd work 8-hour shifts lifting boxes, dragging myself home exhausted, then stay up until 3 a.m. writing code, watching online tutorials, and building small projects. Most of them failed. Websites that didn't work properly. Apps that crashed. Ideas that no one wanted. There were nights I wanted to smash my laptop against the wall and give up. Nights I asked myself, why am I even doing this? What's the point? But then I remembered the laughter, the pointing fingers, the humiliation, Ryan's smirk, Jessica's mocking voice, Derek's betrayal. And every time I remembered, I pushed myself harder. By the time I turned 20, I had started freelancing online. At first, it was tiny projects, fixing broken websites for $50, designing simple landing pages for $100, debugging code for clients who barely spoke English. It wasn't glamorous, but it was progress. For the first time, I wasn't just learning, I was earning. Slowly, I built a reputation. Reviews piled up. More clients came in. I no longer had to stock shelves. I quit the grocery store job and went full-time into freelancing. But deep down, I wanted more. I wanted to build something of my own. So I started working on a project, an app designed to help small businesses manage their social media easily. I thought it was genius. I poured months into coding it, designing it, testing it. When I finally launched, I waited for the users to come flooding in. But they didn't. A handful downloaded it, most deleted it after a day, and I barely made enough to cover the hosting fees. I was crushed. All those months, all that hope, wasted. For weeks I spiraled. I thought maybe the bullies were right. Maybe I really was a loser, destined to fail no matter how hard I tried. But then, something unexpected happened. One of the few people who used my app sent me an email. He was a small business owner who ran a bakery. He said, "Your app isn't perfect, but it saved me hours this week. If you keep working on it, I'll keep using it." That one message lit a fire in me again. I realized I didn't need thousands of users right away. I just needed to build something valuable for someone. So I went back to work. I fixed bugs, improved features, asked for feedback, and slowly word began to spread. Within a year, I had hundreds of active users. Then thousands. I started charging a small subscription fee, $10 a month. It wasn't much, but when the numbers added up, it became life-changing. At 22, I had my first taste of real success. I rented a tiny office, hired a couple of freelancers to help me, and rebranded my app. Investors began to notice. One night, I was invited to pitch my startup at a local event. I walked into the room filled with wealthy business people, wearing the same cheap suit I'd worn to job interviews. My hands shook as I presented my idea. To my shock, one investor approached me afterward. "I like your grit," he said. "You remind me of myself when I was your age. Let's talk." That meeting changed everything. He didn't just invest money, he gave me guidance, connections, and the confidence to think bigger. With his help, I scaled my app, expanded features, and reached tens of thousands of users. By the time I was 23, I had made my first million. I should have been ecstatic. And I was, but there was something else too. A memory I couldn't shake. The cafeteria. The laughter. The punch on my shirt at the dance. The way they all looked at me like I was worthless. I realized money alone wasn't enough. Success wasn't enough. I wanted them to see me now. I wanted them to feel what I felt, that sting of humiliation, that sharp taste of regret. And then one day I got the perfect chance. It was an email from my old high school. They were organizing a 10-year reunion. A chance for everyone to come back, catch up, show off their lives. Most people would have ignored it. But for me it was destiny. I circled the date on my calendar. I knew exactly what I was going to do. The night of the reunion, I stood in front of the mirror adjusting my suit. Not the cheap one I once wore to interviews, but a tailored, navy blue suit that fit like armor. Outside, in the driveway, my brand new Lamborghini purred like a beast waiting to be unleashed. For a moment I just stood there, breathing deep. This was it. The night I had dreamed about since high school. The night they would finally see me. When I pulled into the school parking lot, heads immediately turned. The engine roared, the doors lifted up, and I stepped out. Conversations froze. People whispered. Phones came out, snapping pictures. "Who the hell is that?" someone muttered. And then another voice. "Wait, is that him?" I smiled. Yes, it was me. The loser they once mocked. Inside the gym, the scene was surreal. Same walls, same decorations, same smell of stale punch. But everything was different now. Ryan, the quarterback, was there. He'd put on weight, his once perfect jawline hidden under a beard. He was bragging loudly about his business, though I later learned he sold used cars. Jessica, still beautiful, was surrounded by old friends, showing off her photos of vacations and pretending her life was perfect. And Derek, my old best friend, nursed a drink quietly, avoiding eye contact with everyone. When I walked in, silence fell. People stared, jaws dropping. Is that really you? Jessica asked, eyes wide. Ryan laughed nervously. No way. You. Come on man, what are you, like, renting that car or something? I didn't answer right away. I just looked around the room, letting the moment sink in. For years I had imagined what I would say. And now it was here. I finally spoke. No, Ryan. The car's mine. The company's mine. The success is mine. Every single thing I have now. I paused, meeting their eyes one by one. I built it while you were laughing at me. The room went silent. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. Jessica opened her mouth, then closed it again. Derek lowered his head. I continued. You know, you all thought high school was the end of the story. You thought your popularity, your games, your parties, that was it. But while you were busy living your best lives back then, I was building my future. Alone. In the dark. And now here we are. For the first time ever, no one laughed at me. Some even looked ashamed. Others looked envious. A few clapped awkwardly. And me? I felt something I had never felt in that gym before. Power. The rest of the night, people approached me asking about my company, my car, my life. Even Ryan tried to shake my hand. Even Jessica tried to flirt. Even Derek tried to apologize. But I didn't need their approval anymore. I smiled politely, answered their questions, but deep down I knew the truth. I didn't come back to make friends. I came back to show them that the loser they mocked had won. When I finally left, I walked back to my Lamborghini, the cool night air sharp against my skin. I slid into the driver's seat, the engine roared, and I glanced one last time at the school. And I whispered the same words I had whispered years ago, the night they drenched me in punch. One day you'll all see. That day had finally come.